Welcome to this episode of Edtech People, discussing the past, present, and future of working with technology in education.
Hello, welcome to this episode of Edtech People. Now, in a change to our usual style of entry, thanks to Jack's MacBook not working very well, the first bit of the conversations of this episode, when I've just gone to review it, are basically me and Jack completely out of sync, talking to each other. So, luckily, we realised not too far into the conversation that things weren't quite right. So you're going to join us just after we started the podcast, and this episode is all about cybersecurity. So somebody reached out to Jack, we're not naming names in case they don't want to be known, asking around what do we do if there is a cyber security attack, and what does it look like? What do we think about it? So we've kind of dedicated this whole episode to talking about cybersecurity. So we're going to drop you back in just after we've restarted our machines. He's restarted his machine, and hopefully it makes some sense to you from there. So as always, thank you for listening, and we'll jump back in now and catch up, and hopefully it's still a good episode.
So we're back, and even though I have a £5,000 MacBook Pro, something went wrong. Where were we? We were talking about cybersecurity. Obviously, a colleague in another organisation had asked us what we would do in the event of a cybersecurity attack. And Matt, I believe you asked me what we do as an organisation, and I was talking about we do a lot around staff training, phishing awareness, cybersecurity awareness. And there's a lot of different sub-elements to that. One of the big things we do, as I've just touched on, is phishing simulations, and I'm a big believer in that. And the level of consistency we do those at is probably a little bit higher than maybe other organisations. I'm not saying every week, by no means, or monthly, but we do them enough that we have a data set that is continually evolving, and that gives us a real clear visibility of who are our high risk users. And we never say, we never go after people and go, you're a high risk user, you do better. But we guide them, we have conversations with them, we help them understand, okay, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and how we might be able to sort of have a better cybersecurity posture, and how they can help on that. With that being said, if you are failing every single simulation, plus clicking on real, phishing emails, for example, then there are conversations that have to be had around, you are now risk to the organization, and that's that balance that's really hard. Fortunately, we don't often have to have those, but I think in education we are kind a lot of the time, which is really important, but we also have to be accountable, and we're responsible for all of our actions, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think there's a few good points that you're making there. If we strip it back, cybersecurity isn't new. There's always been risks when you're running a network. The difference now, I think, is that we understand those risks, and they're more in our face than what they've ever been before. First off, it's literally people's life work to break into systems, to steal data, to cause these issues, and commit fraud and all those kind of things. So schools need to get it into their heads that it's a case of when, not if.
Yeah.
And these things are happening all the time. So don't think just because it's not in the news that it's not happening. The worst ones always end up in the news, but some of the most impactful ones don't, because people don't want that information going out on there. It's a daily event that is happening. So we have to be realistic. We're not going to stop the schools that we support falling victim to a cybersecurity incident. We're just not going to do it. It's impossible. And anybody telling you that they can is lying to you. So I think it's really important that schools accept that. And for me, not enough schools are planning what to do in the event of a cybersecurity crisis. Now, you touched on some really good points before your £5,000 MacBook failed. That is, it's basically not a witch hunt, is it? And we need people to feel that they can raise any concerns anytime they clicked a link that they shouldn't have clicked. That is a really important, that they think that I'm going to tell somebody now, not because not to do it because I think I'm going to get sacked for it. It happens. The difference is, are you negligent or have you fallen victim for it? And they're two very distinct things.
Agreed.
Negligence is out there, and that is a management issue amongst other things. It's the same as being a teacher and letting another kid hit another kid around the head with a chair. You wouldn't do it, hopefully. A bit of an extreme one there, but just the same as you wouldn't go to a dodgy website and type in your details or share your password. It's just professionally not something that you should do, and there's no excuse for people not to be aware of the risks. But just as important as it is around having people in there with the training, and because they are the biggest risk, people are the biggest risk, without doubt, it's about having those plans for what to do when it goes wrong. So we can minimize, we can mitigate, we can make it as hard as possible. And it is as simple as, if you walk down the street and you've got houses there and you see one's got an alarm, one's got CCTV, door cameras, one's got a lock on the car, on the steering wheel, you're going to go to the one at the, maybe at the end of the street that's got a car there that has got the keys in the ignition.
Matt, that just jumping in there, that is an analogy that I've used so many times, specifically the steering wheel lock one. So I have a disc lock on mine. Not because it's the fanciest car in the world, but because in my head it's like, well, if someone's going to steal the car on the street, my mate 2 doors down has got the same car without the disc lock. And it's like, are they going to take the angle grinder to my disc lock, wake me up, and then it'll be like, okay, well, that'll be fun. Or are they just going to go and take the car down the road without the disc lock? It's that simple, isn't it? They're going to try the door.
Absolutely.
And conditional access is going to fire back and say, oh, yeah, successful login, but actually you're not going to get any further because we've failed these factors. But that school we also fished. Let's just, it's the same concept, isn't it?
It's, they want an easy life. It's
100%.
like water, isn't it? It flows wherever it can.
And you see it in the logs, don't you? You'll see when someone's token's been robbed or they've entered their credentials, and let's say CA has stepped in for the next layer down, you'll see attempted signing, and that's it. You don't.
You
in
see
my
it on
experience,
firewalls all the time. You see it people trying to just find an easy route through. It's like the equivalent of walking down that street and just trying to open the car doors on each
Try it once or twice, and then you go to the next one. You don't see, or I haven't seen when we've had people click on emails and the token's been robbed. I've not seen hundreds of attempted signings. They try it a few times on that account or that identity, and then they move on because something else just blocks them.
So it's all about making sure our schools aren't the easy option. I think that's a critical step in it. But then it's also the major undeveloped side of it is the response. What do you do when your school's been hacked? It could be as simple as somebody's paid some Chinese website £5 to do a DDoS on their thing. What do you do when you can't use the internet and everything's in the cloud and you can't answer the phone and you can't go into the MIS? And that's over. You don't, once that's finished, you're absolutely fine, or you change your IP address or whatever. It's what happens if they get into your systems? What happens if they, encrypt your data? What happens if they put it on the dark web? How are you going to react to those things? Because it is not a short-term problem. And something you mentioned earlier on was around safeguarding and the importance of safeguarding. So safeguarding is in everything we do. And because any kind of cybersecurity incident is potentially a safeguarding incident, the two should be on a level parity. It's as simple as that. The data that they can access. And I always say when I'm doing training for this, and I've done training for this with the NAHT several times, and it's been really well attended, which is good. I'm glad that leaders are attending it and taking it seriously. But the realities of what they're actually doing then back on the ground are minimal. It's all very well knowing about it if you're not putting in those mitigation steps. But they need a plan of what they're going to do. And let's think for a moment how much data they've got. So say a MIS system was breached, whether that's on-prem SIMs, cloud-based Arbor, Bromcom, iSAMs, whatever. Well, if you're talking about even a small school of between 500, let's say 500 quid, because I'm not very good at maths. So let's do 500 kids.
Yeah.
So you've got 150 staff.
Yeah.
Yep. That's just using that school at that time.
Yeah.
So for each of the 500 students, you're going to have a minimum of 2 next of kins or contacts. Some kids will have 3
or more.
You then, yeah, exactly. So if we be,
sorry, we'll be kind for the math.
We'll be kind for the maths. Yeah, thank you. So if we're talking about that whole thing that guy said about us talking, yeah, you're getting it. So if we're talking about 1,000 contacts just for 1,500 contacts, 1,500 contacts. If you've got 500 kids and each one of them have got 2 contacts,
that's
plus the kids. Plus the kids.
Okay. Yeah.
1,500. Come on, Jack. Keep up.
It's been long days, We won't go into the why though.
So 1.5 contacts just for the students there, right?
Yeah.
You've then got your staff, say 150 staff, say each of them have just got 1 next of kin. So you're talking 150 staff plus 150 next of kin, you're talking 300 people.
Yeah.
So you're not far off at that point, 2,000 people in that MIS. Okay. Then you've got to bear in mind that's just the current people.
I was just about to say that's just the current. Yeah.
So for SEN, you have to keep it back. How many years?
Yeah,
quite a lot of years.
Yeah.
Safeguarding is 21 plus 1 or something like that the retention policy isn't there. So
basically it's decades worth of data,
tens of thousands of data, and then we talk about what data. What data are we actually talking about? Well, just on a simple level, it's verified phone numbers, verified email addresses for parents,
photos, so more identifying factors,
photos of students, addresses, verified addresses. You've got court orders, you've got safeguarding.
I was about to say, in some cases, even more sensitive information around, X and Y.
Welfare,
people who can't have access to X. There's a lot, isn't there?
Well, being a parent with a child arrangement order in place, and being split from my daughter's mum, obviously I can't go in and see where she lives. I mean, I know where she lives, obviously, because that's where my daughter lives. But there'll be some cases where you can't do that. They've got a legal right as a parent to find out about their school's education, but they don't have a legal right to know where that other parent lives. Yeah. So the risk, and that's before you look at if you've got staff and you've got any HR issues that they've raised, you've got their pay details, you've got.
Do you want to know what makes this worse?
Yeah.
That's just one example of one system that could be compromised.
Yeah. This is just the MIS.
Let's say you're full on-prem for the ease of the math while we're here. I'm saying math, that's quite American, isn't it? Anyway,
yeah.
That's just the MIS. Let's say you've got on-prem MIS, that's just that. Okay, let's say you've got a finance system that's also on-prem. That's also been compromised. So all your supplier information,
happen,
you pay, exactly. And then you've got kind of like any information that's on like local file storage, for example.
Well, yeah, you've got, if you just look at any schools like staff shared, that's where you're going to be your EHCP plans. That's where it's going to be, your reports and everything like that are going to be in there. And by the way, it doesn't matter if they're in a share that's admin only, because once somebody's in, it doesn't matter if it's an SLT share, an admin share, they get bypass all of that kind of lockdown.
I do enjoy those conversations and having to explain those. So, but we've got this in place. It's like, that's brilliant, but they've come in the back door, so they've
come in the back door, so that any holes in opportunity then, but that wouldn't be the right thing to do.
Anyway.
So what we'll say is that they'll be able to literally get past everything, and even
Trojan horse, isn't it?
Yeah, even when it's not on-prem,
absolutely.
Most MISs sync with user creation. So those users are created. What's that data flow? So basically, that's just, as you say, the MIS. you've got your phones, you've got your payment systems, everything. If you lose all that, your school's got to close. It's as simple as that. Your school has to close because it can't keep running. And not having a plan is not an excuse.
It's the IT equivalent of like the pipes breaking and the ceilings come down. We had that in a school recently over half term, and it's like, you can't open if that's the situation. It's the same. The facts are, if you don't, there's two things, isn't there? If you don't have access to the data you need to safeguard people, keep them safe, and just operate, you can't open.
Yeah, but before you even think about teaching lessons,
exactly.
You can't open up because you can't operationally do it.
Let's say when that happens, is anyone saying, "Oh, we can't teach the lesson" as their first thought, or are they going,
We can't even tell the kids the school's open.
We can't tell the kids
closed.
How are we telling them we can't teach the lesson? Or is it the other way around? Like, I'm just sort of brainstorming here. Is it, we can't teach, we've got to tell everyone, and then the Matt and Jack of the situation going, we need to tell people. Someone going to tell us how we're going to do that because we don't.
Well, I think that's a really good, absolutely. And I think it's such a good point as well, because, and this is maybe some of the bit from going from cloud into on-prem, from on-prem into cloud. That's the right way to do it. If you do it the other way, you're not doing it right. Then it goes back to what we talked about before, the control that IT people have over those systems is not there. Used to, perhaps before, if you'd been hacked, you'd be able to see what you could do about it. You'd be in some element of control. It has that file being encrypted there. What can I do? Can I export the database file and recreate it somewhere? You can't do that with new systems. They go down and do people know? And I know they don't. What their systems. What would happen if their systems are down? So we've seen it recently with MIS platforms going down, and we see it quite regularly with learning platforms going down. Yeah, and 365 stuff like that.
We talked about Cloudflare when that goes down. What do you lose access to? AWS.
Well, it's like, do people know that 365 don't back up your data? Do they know that Google don't back up your data?
What? Yeah. Well, yeah. Great points. And again, going off piece for a microsecond, I love it when people say, "Yeah, but I've got the recycle bin for 90 days. Okay, cool. This conversation's over. Do you know what I mean? It's and I think there's a new thing now, isn't there, within 365, where you can pay for 365 backup or something like that.
You can. So we
don't, because again, why would we want to use the same, separate systems, etc., etc. Like, let's not use the same platform as our backup provider that we're backing up.
Absolutely. And I'm currently migrating Concero's backup product from Barracuda to AvePoint.
Okay.
And like you, I wouldn't have it on a single platform. One of the reasons why I moved to AvePoint is just Google backup as well. Google offer a few more reassurances, but again, if Google has properly gone to the point where it's lost your data, any promises they make you are worthless. And it's the same with Microsoft. You have to be, what happens if these people disappear? And it's not out of the realms of possibility that these people get hacked by somebody somewhere, but it's also not out of the realms of possibility that they get bombed. We've got wars happening left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
If the Russians,
we've had this conversation. It's like, we've got all these systems in place, backups, etc. But like, a good cyber attack is like, if you speak to like military people, etc., cyber is on the front lines of warfare. Of warfare. It's not just dropping bombs off aircraft carriers now, or jets off carriers to drop bombs, or whatever that looks like. It is cyber. And actually, we can put all these systems in place, and we can have 3-2-1, and we can do X, Y, and Z. But if someone drops a bomb on the data center or the cluster, it's warfare from a cyber point of view. You've got the cyber attacks, right? But as you kind of alluded to there, Matt, as well, it's like, okay, let's say we've got our data using X platform or private cloud, and they've got, say, 3 data centers in the UK, and our data is, backed up across all of them, etc. That's brilliant. But if from a warfare point of view, I'm just going to take out those 3 data centers.
Yeah, it's no big deal. Well, it is a big deal, but you know what I mean.
It's a bit, but like, if you're going to be that guy,
if you're in
like,
for a penny, you're in for a pound.
Yeah, but that's what will happen. Like, if though that, that is the level of, like, again, touch wood, hope for the UK to see that's quite an escalation. But if you hop across to other areas of the world where not so long ago they were just like you and I, Matt, just carrying on doing their daily lives.
Yeah.
Those data centers
schools in Ukraine.
Exist. Exactly. Like, they would have had data centers. They would have done X, Y, Z. Again, I'm assuming on that point there, but it's, like, it's not, you can't mitigate everything, but you can mitigate so much.
Yeah. So I think the question wasn't it? You've got it in front of you. I think it was around our views on it and what we do. I think the first thing I think the first thing we establish is that we actually can't stop it happening. So
agreed.
We can lock our doors so when they come down, we're not the first one that they can steal from.
Yeah.
We can make strategic choices to mitigate the risk. So removing servers, removing that attack surface,
Zero trust, privileged identity management, etc., etc. Like, they're all layer based. I always say it's a layer based approach, isn't it? You start with username and password, then you add MFA, hopefully phishing resilient passkey, etc. Then you might add something else, location based CA, and then compliant. Like, boom, 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 boom.
Well, let me throw another thing in, because one of the things that I noticed in a lot of schools is they differentiate between a staff and a student account.
Okay.
And they'll turn around and say for their student accounts, they can have an easier password, or can we get around the complex password requirement, or can we not turn on MFA? There is no difference for a hacker between a staff and a student account. They're both user accounts. It's like having a wall and taking a brick out of it. Doesn't matter. You can get through that wall then.
I don't know where we get these analogies from this evening, Matt, but I'm liking it. Yeah, I agree. And again, we mandate the exact same password policy for staff that we do students. And that has caused a little bit of tension, or it did a few years ago. And people have, I think, just got over the fact that I'm not changing that and that we can't change that as well. More importantly, Microsoft mandate, a minimum requirement. And I'm not about to go and use a third party to make changes, like federate out to then go and do X and Y. We've looked at a few things, and there's some things that you can do. And again, you can put some additional controls in place, and we've looked into those. A bit, I think QR code signing is something that people are quite big on at the moment for the...
Yeah, we've been deploying that into schools because, you've got your younger kids, and getting them to type in a username and password is a challenge.
Yeah.
But if we're using something like that, then we will bolster that by having conditional access in place so that they can't log in outside the school. So
on
they
a
have to be on a
device.
They have to be on a compliant device in the school on that IP address.
So,
Again, not impossible to get around, but much harder than a kid with a 3-letter password.
Yeah, like my nephew's password for a platform from his school, and that's as vague as we'll go there, is cat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, what? But you've got the safeguard risk as well. Let's remove cyber. It's like, okay. So now the whole class have got the same password. I know his best mate's name, so I can work out his username. So now I can log in as his best mate, or he can log in as his best mate.
And when you're in, you open up Teams, you see everybody else in their class, you've got all their information, you can send what you want, you can do what you're in. And I think many schools underestimate the risk
100%.
if it happens. They're just worried about it happening, but not the impact of it, because they don't fully understand those risks, and they don't fully understand how that will affect them.
I agree.
Other than that, it will be really, really bad.
I agree.
I hate to say it. It's not bad. It's end of.
Endgame.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the Endgame.
Endgame.
yeah, let's not release that one. But actually, I'm going to put that as the podcast title.
I like
IT
it.
Endgame.
IT
but
Endgame.
yeah, I think about kids doing their exams and their coursework.
Yeah.
And what's really sometimes hard to do is that we're the people telling them not to use memory sticks to back it up. But you've been here and they've got a memory stick there with their data on. They're not wrong. Their data's safe.
They're just there with I don't have a memory stick, but they're there like, we're all there like, and they're like, well, I got my data.
Exactly.
Just going to plug it into my laptop that's working as well. Like,
yeah, exactly. You know,
I guess on that point there, it's like, if you've done all the work, or even if you haven't actually, but if you've done all the work, make sure you're backing your data up to the cloud, like with a reputable third-party platform that is completely separate to everything else you're doing. You know, don't be the guy who's got a full on-premise state that's backing up said servers to the same host that all the servers are running on. Like, don't be that guy. Like, backups don't cost a lot realistically now. Like, if I look at what we pay per year for our entire organization to back up, it's like most organizations are spending a lot more than that on a lot less of a need. So like, you can, if anyone says you can't afford to do it, you can afford to do it.
You can't afford not to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? And that's what your response needs to be. You can't afford not to do it. And actually, you know, it's DfE standards. And again, it's called part of the core standards, if I'm not wrong there, Matt, isn't it? And then also...
Not only that, for the RPA insurance.
Which most schools are part of.
Yeah, and even if they don't, I did actually speak with a school the other day that doesn't have any cyber insurance. They're not part of the RPA and they haven't got any cyber insurance. And I was like, go and put this right now. Like, I'm not a big fan of spending money for the sake of it.
Yeah.
If we went out as school and we brought, say, 300 laptops, my response would be, don't buy the insurance on it. Buy 3 extra laptops and self-insure. You know, put that money into an
100%.
account and use it if you need to, because the chance of them all failing is there. And they're normally covered under the RPA if something like that happened.
And actually, half the time you buy the extended warranty, they don't get covered anyway because someone's bounced it off the desk, and so I've stopped buying extended warranty on all that sort of stuff.
So, where was I going with that?
I think you were kind of just going around spend the money, don't not spend the money, because it's actually going to cost you more to not spend the less than 10 grand for most organizations that aren't massive a year.
I just don't understand school. That was the cyber insurance as well, wasn't I? I was saying around the cyber insurance not having it. And I'm just like, cyber insurance is something that you need to have.
But meeting the criteria.
Oh, yeah. The amount of people that I imagine, and I think this is true with any insurance, but that they get, I've ticked that box, I've got cyber insurance, then they haven't actually looked what it's covered. It's like if you go on holiday and you get travel insurance and then you find out it doesn't cover, you know, lost bags.
Yeah.
You know, then why have you got that?
Like,
that's like the most common thing to happen.
Yeah, 100%. Or cancel. I was in Porto at the weekend, and like everyone was panicking because, you know, the new passport control over Europe.
Oh yeah.
So we're in this queue trying to get through this second layer of passport control, and the plane's meant to be taken off, and everyone's heads are going there trying to, you know, classic British people pushing through, trying to get through. It's like, whatever. Like, I've got travel insurance. I'm not tripping on this. Worst case scenario, get another day in Porto. Like, but the crux of that is, would I have been one of the guys trying to push to the front of this queue to try and get through to the gate if I knew if I didn't have travel insurance? It's a similar concept. I think my final thoughts on this overall topic for this episode is, we've talked a lot about, make sure you've got insurance, backups, all these different areas. But in terms of what you can do to try, prepare yourself almost for it, my immediate thoughts go to NCSC exercise in a box. They've got a lot of tools around that.
Just explain exercises. That though, because I don't think a lot of people realise what they are. It's not a board game, is it?
No, so essentially, but it can feel like one, I guess, in a way. Like, so the NCSC have got one of their many sets of resources is exercise in a box. As part of that, there's several different exercises, sort of beginner and so on to get taken more complex, more advanced. And everyone you get a group of people together. You might start with your IT team initially, just to get a feel for it, and then Endgame, there it is, would be like your entire exec team, your leadership team, trustees, if possible. Get a good group of people together. Everyone takes a role. You have someone essentially chair it, and that gives them a set of instructions, and you simulate what you do, and how you would respond to the scenario of the cyber incident that the exercise has given you.
So it's like D&D for the cyber endgame.
Endgame.
I think also we'll touch on governance a little bit here, because
anyway, that's quite
what was I saying? Yeah.
So governance.
So let's talk about
Trustee.
governance a little bit.
Yeah.
And if we ever do an outtakes of the
That'll be brilliant.
podcast, that bit that we've just cut will be in
Yeah.
it. But I'm a chair of governors, and Jack is a trustee.
So I'm a trustee, chair of risk and audit, and my trustee linked responsible role is cybersecurity for a multi-academy trust.
So I don't have those kind of things in mind because we're part of a trust. It's not delegated. But if you're governors who, let's be honest, aside from me and you who are young and beautiful, they're not always the youngest people in the world. Although there is a big gap, and changes happening there for sure. But if they haven't got a clue about this risk, if they're not delving into this and making sure that the leadership have got a handle on it, they're not doing their job. And it does surprise me when I go into these meetings quite a lot, and obviously I've got the knowledge of the tech side, and when I see it not happening, it's I don't know. I can't help but feel that we're letting down those leaders that we're supposed to be supporting in their governance role, and because we're not holding them to account for it. And it is. Go on.
I think it's more important than ever that people in digital and IT get into step up and take a trustee role somewhere. And I was at a different event having a very similar conversation where one of the core messages was IT, heads of IT, directors of IT, IT technician, man, if you've got enough about you, go and apply to be on a board. If you're young, do it. You don't need to be an armed boy or girl.
No, you don't. In fact,
you're running probably bring a lot more to the table in a way.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be time draining, it doesn't have to be any of that. But what it does is it's a really important role, and it gives you so many good life skills. So many,
100%.
being able to chair a meeting, understand how it all works, will only ever improve, what you're doing
and seeing how
you're doing it.
An organisation decisions are made from a different point of the table. But I'm fortunate enough, probably similar to yourself, Matt, in your role as you're chair of your daughter's school, is it? Yeah.
No, not my daughter's school.
Sorry,
just a random school.
There you go. And then I say I sit on the board for a new trust, which is great because again, start of the journey. And I, even this week is around, okay, what do I want to see now from the cyber reports and the IT? Been there for a while now, so I understand what we're getting. Let's now, okay, I know we're doing it, and I've gone in and I've seen it in happen, but are we documenting this right? Are you reporting on this how we want it to be reported on, etc.? So there's loads of really powerful things that you can bring to the table, and I think that's maybe a departing message for today is take up those roles. Like Matt says, it doesn't have to be time draining. But if you've got a passion and genuine skill set for it, you see it on Monitor, you see it on LinkedIn all the time. Trustees need people. And normally they want, we need someone for finance or estates or health and safety or teaching and learning and that. What they really need is someone for cyber or IT.
Yeah. If you're passionate about it,
do it.
Put that passion into that role. Be the person asking the questions and see it from that side.
And I actually think if you apply for a trust role and you have those conversations with the trust on a board or local governor of a school, even if they're not talking about needing someone for IT, as soon as you mention it with the right level of passion and communication, they're going to be like, yeah, brilliant. That's a tick. That's a gap we didn't think about, or we knew we needed, but we didn't know how to approach that. So maybe that's my closing statement on that.
Well, I think it's a good time to highlight one of our partners, actually, as one of the sponsors, Secure Schools. And, we don't tie, we're not editorial. In fact, I don't hear from any of the sponsors after I send a renewal each year, and they just cover the cost of running a podcast like this. It does cost money. But being somebody who's used Secure Schools, being a partner, they are doing such good work with tools that schools actually need. And I remember the first time they came into a school that I supported, and you can probably sympathize with this, is that I was like, sod off my network. Who are you to come in here and tell me that this isn't secure? You just want to sell stuff and do all this. And I couldn't be more wrong. They are a partnership. They don't want to out an MSP. They don't want out an IT team.
Mm-hmm.
They want schools to be secure,
Mhm.
and they've got the experience and the platform to do it. And so, if you're a school and you're sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, the end game's coming," then perhaps have a look at Secure Schools. Mention that you heard it on this podcast, just so they renew their sponsorship. That'd be really cool.
From my understanding, their pricing is pretty good as well in comparison to everyone else.
Yeah.
So,
500 odd quid
Yeah.
on for that kind of
we
kind of
did
stuff.
we did our Cyber Essentials first renewal, second renewal. I can't remember whatever we did with Secure Schools. But we, I won't go into the Cyber Essentials rabbit hole now. But
No,
maybe
don't.
that's one for another conversation, because I'm quite passionate about that subject.
Well, talking about passionate about stuff. So, have you got anything that you'd like to tell the boys and girls who are listening on your recent?
On my recent decision making in life,
Yes.
I guess my I'm going to use the word Endgame has arrived for DRB in my current role. So in a few months, I will, well, not even a month, few months, in a month, I will be leaving DRB after just over 5 years, and probably some of the best work I've done in my career, which is natural as you elevate. So I'll be taking up a director of IT role at a new trust, which we will talk about maybe next week's episode or one of the incoming episodes. And yeah, so pretty psyched about that. And I think it's going to allow for a lot more conversation around from a different perspective now, around how we do things. And I think also it's a really good opportunity for me to look back and reflect on what we've done and how we've done it and what I've achieved in my current role. Because we were, in 1st of May 21 when I joined, burning to the ground from an IT perspective. And it only took us a year to get out of that, and we were full cloud within a year. And then last week, we finished our final migration of our newest school that joined about 6-7 weeks ago. So we've managed to continue that pace as we go. So psyched about that, and psyched to share more as we go over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's massive well done.
Thank you.
I think it'd be always a really exciting but scary time as well, as it is to move any jobs, but particularly in IT, because everything that you've known, I don't want to scare you, but everything that you've known of your school, and then you'll go in to trust, you'll go into a new one and you'll go, oh my gosh, either it's nowhere near where it needs to be, or everything's done to the same outcome. And you go into it thinking, oh, I know about cloud, I know about this. And then you go in and go, how the hell have they managed to get it that way done? Because they've done the same thing in a completely different way.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be really interesting to follow that.
It's going to wake the brain up in a different way a little bit. So I think it's like you've just said, you're going to stare at something and you're like, that's working really, really well, but it doesn't make any sense. But actually, it probably does make sense.
Welcome to my job.
Yeah. 100%. So that's one of the things I'm super psyched for, because at the moment, everything's the same across all of our 14 schools in every possible way. And that's really brilliant from a organizational perspective. But from a technical perspective, sometimes you kind of lose some of that. Yeah. So I'm super psyched to get back into that, and probably reach out to many colleagues on, how does a server work again? Like, what's this big box that makes a lot of noise when you turn it on?
I know a company who can support you.
Do.
So we'll just, I think it's good to end on that and put the normal disclaimer in. Anything we've just talked about is nothing to do with our employers.
No.
Although they're very, very supportive people.
Very
and
supportive.
we like them, especially with the monthly pay packet. That always helps.
Absolutely.
If you would like to get in touch, I know a lot of people have been messaging Jack and myself recently. It's actually been really good. I got an email earlier on from somebody as well as listening to it. It's such good feedback and a driver for us to continue doing it, to hear that people are enjoying this. We don't always get it right. We don't always say everything that you agree with, but you can comment. You can send us an email. So it's mail@edtechpeople.co.uk. You can comment on it on Spotify. You can comment on it on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube and on Spotify. Please do that, and please share it with your friends and subscribe. And if you want to come on and have a chat, that's more than well. Drop me an email.
I really want that to happen as well. I think we need to
Get more people.
We need to get someone in to bounce, even better if you completely disagree with something that we've said.
Oh yeah, let's have a fight.
Look. I'm not saying Endgame here. We need an Endgame count. What I'm saying is a healthy conversation that would benefit all of education.
And how we're right and they're wrong.
And if, a Thanos-like situation takes place, then hey, what happens on Edtech People stays on Edtech People.
Then we'll change the name to Edtech People. Yeah. And it was very funny last week. Some of the responses that I had from people around the Edtech stuff. So I'm glad you're getting our sense of humour. I think I prefer the Endgame Tech or Tech Endgame title. I think that might, if we were. Yeah. We'll do that. All right. Well, thanks for your input this week, Jack. And we will speak to everybody in a fortnight. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you for listening. This podcast is made possible by our sponsors: Secure Schools. Benchmark, improve, prepare. Reduce cybersecurity risks with expert tools and services built specifically for schools and trusts. Smoothwall, who exists to help keep children safe and thriving in their digital lives by supporting and empowering them and those who care for them in school, at home, and everywhere in between. Take control of your resources. Classroom Bookings is an online room booking system for schools, colleges, charities, and more. Organize your shared resources on your own schedule so users always know what is available and when. And First Pillar. At First Pillar, we provide expert operational and business leadership support for schools, academies, and trusts. Our mission is simple: to help school leaders focus on what matters most, pupils, by ensuring every aspect of school business management runs smoothly, compliantly, and strategically. For more information on the show and our sponsors, visit www.edtechpeople.co.uk.